Okay, so very first day of Google Plus pages. Dane, what are you doing?
I think he's brushing his teeth.
Are you brushing your teeth? Do you seriously wait until I say, okay, I'm going to record? I usually don't even tell you I'm going to record. Today I give you the benefit because you bitch and moan and you say, you got to tell me when you record. And today I tell you I'm going to record and then you brush your teeth.
Tell me, did you hear that? Is that what you're hearing?
Oh my God, yes, it's horrible.
That's so funny.
That's a horrible sound.
Oh, it's stubble. Ooh. Can you hear that?
Dude, you need
Yes.
to
What are you doing? This is like horrible biological sounds. I'm really uncomfortable right now.
I honestly was wiping my nose with the Kleenex. Wiping, just wiping, not blowing. So
Wow,
is it the
TMI,
Oh
TMI.
man.
I didn't know that was.
Are you using your building's community hanky? Right? Is that how that you have a single hanky on a gold ring?
Box X. It's all
Oh my gosh.
above board.
Okay, so back to
crying out loud.
regularly scheduled.
Why
topic.
can't we derailed in the first 4 seconds?
I'll just
That's
do
so
that.
good.
First day of Google Plus since search engines. This is Danny Sullivan talking about. Everybody's at PubCon. Danny Sullivan is the proprietor of the Good and Wise Search Engine Land site, which is awesome. And he says the very first day of Google Plus pages launch sent as much traffic as Facebook. Now you.
Bum, bum, bum.
You were going to say something, Megan.
So
I
what I
told
was
you that,
gonna
and then you
say
let me
is-
hang me out there. What do you want to
No.
talk about?
It was dramatic pause.
Oh, okay.
What I was going to say was that at Blog World, that is precisely what people were talking about, was how Google is now indexing content from Facebook, Twitter, and other social platforms differently than it is for Google Plus. No shock. So a lot of these big social media, new media folks were really pushing Google Plus for that very reason, for SEO reasons, because Google owns it. So
well, I think we all sort of saw that coming, right? But I don't think we necessarily knew what the implications would be.
The pages,
I wonder. I mean, I don't know. Dane, have you seen any? I mean, I know you don't do much on it sort of personally, but are you seeing people in your circles talking about this effect?
I haven't yet. No.
Have you been sleeping?
I've been. Oh, I should tell you about sleeping.
All right, but first we got to go back and talk more about Blog World.
You don't want to be derailed.
No, because we missed Megan last week. I was very excited to have her back.
We do.
Tell us about what she experienced.
we need the info.
Uh-huh.
Well, it was actually, so as far as conferences go, I mean, I always have a great time at these conferences meeting new people. That is the absolute number one reason that I go to these sorts of things. So just meeting new people and catching up with folks that I, either know via Twitter or have you met in the past. So one of my favorite people that I met was Rob Hatch, who from my perspective is interesting to me because he runs the 501 Mission Place, which is like a community for nonprofit professionals. But he also is the kind of the operations guy behind Chris Brogan's Human Business Work. So that's why he might be interesting to other people. But so I really loved meeting him, and we had a lot to talk about. So that was a really fun connection for me. And then of course, all the nonprofit folks I met were fantastic, which you guys don't care about at all, but I do.
No, we totally care. Come on.
But so the thing
We
about
care
Blog
about
World,
caring.
I was there with other people who have been to Blog World in the past, and they said this Blog World, because it was split east and west this time, was much smaller and sort of underwhelming, I guess, to them, because there weren't as many people.
Well, how many people are we talking? What was the overall traffic? Do you know? Do you have any?
I think they said it was I thought they said it was like 4,000. It did not feel like that many people at all.
Wow.
So, and the keynotes were okay. But some of them were just, I thought, if you're going to get 1,000 people in a room for a keynote, it should be a lot more interesting than this. But I did like some of the sessions I went to. Pat Flynn's was my favorite. He did a really fantastic job just being super, super practical about how to, kind of his model of how he's linked, his blog and podcast and video and why he's done what he's done and how he's been as successful as he has. And he was just insanely practical, which is always fantastic.
He's the be everywhere guy, right? You've got to be everywhere. Is that Is that his shtick?
Is that his shtick? I don't. He didn't say that during his presentation, but he sort of is everywhere.
He's the smart passive income guy.
Yeah, passive income guy.
Okay.
So he was fantastic. Trying to think of anything else really exciting, and then of course there were great parties. They did a very nice job with, helping people feel included and just having nice events. Chris Brogan actually blogged about the first night event, which was lovely. It was on this like rooftop overlooking LA. And it was just fantastic. So that was fun. But anyway, so I know that's probably not exactly what you wanted to hear.
Well, no, I want to hear some. I want to hear some key lessons learned, because you came back. First of all, you came back all gangbusters about doing a podcast. Why is podcasting important?
What's so weird is that Blog World has a whole podcasting component, but I only went to maybe one of those sessions. But I don't know. It sort of felt like, when you find out that you have a long lost cousin, and you're like, I knew something was missing in my life. I sort of feel that way about my content, that there's been something missing. And so, I don't know, I just kept looking to a colleague of mine that was with me for a lot of the sessions, and we just kind of kept elbowing each other like, we need to do a podcast. So it just, I don't know, something just gelled. It wasn't anything in particular. But yeah, it was just, anyway. So I did come out of it thinking podcast, and I'm glad that I am co-hosted this podcast.
You've been co-hosting one for the last 2 years?
And by the way, Dane, you need to send me your address, because I have a gift for you.
I can't wait.
It's going to be really cool.
Really?
You're going to be really excited.
I'm excited.
I don't know about that, but but I was thinking of you too. So
that is so sweet.
So anyway, I can be sweet, Dane.
Warms my heart.
I'm not always sassy.
Not always what?
Oh, sassy.
Excellent. Nice.
So anyway, but
Okay.
it was weird being at an event like that, especially. I guess I'm not as much of a fangirl as some people are, because I like a couple of my buddies are always walking around. They're like, "Oh, there's Darren Roush and there's la." I'm like, "Who's that? Who's that?
Yeah.
What?" Oh, there's Jason Falls. I didn't know who Jason Falls was, but like sitting 2 feet away from Jason Falls, watching him present, like that's a little bit of a weird thing. You're watching these kind of famous quote unquote people walk by, just chatting it up. They're normal people, but it's just kind of funny.
Yeah, it's these conferences can be sort of insular. It's they're famous in their circle.
Exactly. But literally, there are like throngs of people waiting to talk to.
Yeah.
Oh, here's something funny about Jason Falls' presentation. He did an interesting presentation about.
Now wait, you got to say who Jason Falls is. Speaking of insular,
social media guru guy. I don't even know what his
Guru. Sweet.
I said guru guy. He has a new book out called "No Bullshit Social Media" or something like that.
Yeah, he's the social media explorer. That's his site.
See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. I know who he is. I follow him on Twitter, but that's about as much as I know on him.
Nice guy. He's a nice guy.
He's a nice guy, and he did a great session about asking better questions. It was one of those sort of philosophical,
right?
And he gave some great examples about things, especially statistics and infographics that people put out that are complete bullshit, and kind of debunked a couple of them, which was fun. And then it's 10 a.m, and he's like, "Oh, and by the way," he's like, "now we're going to have some fun." He goes, "And to have some fun, I need a drink." So he brought this bacon-infused bourbon, and he goes and takes a shot of it. And he's like, "And I brought sample cups for all of you. You can all taste it after the session." So there's this big line after the session for people trying the bacon-infused bourbon as well.
Bacon-infused bourbon. That's fantastic.
Drinking at 10 a.m. kind of sounds like what happens in a convention in Portland.
That's true.
That's the other place that happens.
That's the other place that happens. That's exactly right.
Is that what we do? So anyway, enough about Blog World. I thought it was interesting. I'm not 100% sure I would go back. But whatever. I thought it was good. Well, good, but not great. How's that?
Well, that's good. I guess you come back more energized. The problem that I have with the reason I didn't go, and the last time I went, it was actually still called the Podcast and Media Expo or New Media Expo, right? And so
it still is called New Media Blog World and New Media Expo.
Yeah, and so they kind of shifted the theme, as I understand. But the first time I went, it was actually still very, very podcast oriented, and it was when bloggers were, the only thing they were thinking about was how can we take our content into a new channel easily. And I think part of the problem that I have with it, and this is a content strategy problem, right, is that it starts to sound like the discussion starts to sound like a Cutco discussion, like we're trying to sell knives. We're just trying to get more people signed up, and how can we monetize content? I mean, as soon as you use the word monetize in a discussion like this, it makes me just sort of throw up in the back of my mouth a little bit, because it sort of feels like you've forgotten the intent of the conversation. And when you look at particularly Pat Flynn, who's a smart guy, but you go to the Smart Passive Income blog, and it's like I can't separate what that looks and feels like from somebody trying to sell me a dietary supplement. Like, so I just have a hard time taking some of the people who are famous in this circle seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Does that?
No, it makes sense. But at the same time, I mean, a lot of these people are doing this as a business, and by virtue of being in business, you have to monetize. So
they do, but you know what they don't do? They don't necessarily help the people that I'm working with, because I'm working with people who actually provide content not about content, right?
Right.
Not meta content. They're building a business. So many of these people are building a business off of building businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at, how do you actually support businesses that are not about meta content, that are actually teaching organizations about some professional domain of experience? How do you reuse all this content in a way that it is not appropriate to use giant slightly opaque dollar signs in the blog posts, right?
Exactly. No, and I think that's an interesting point. And some of these things are kind of, again, my colleague and I just kept looking at each other like we're in the wrong industry. Some of these things, people just have had really amazing ideas. Like this one guy who has quit his job and is now podcasting, and running a business full time, is the Radio Disney guy. I think his name is, what's his name? I'm going to blank on his name. Lou Mangello. And he does this Radio Disney. So he's moved his entire family to Orlando. And he does a weekly show about Disneyland, or is it Disney World? Disney World.
Right.
And he's made a killing because, guess how many people go to Disney World every year? A lot. Yeah. And he loves Disney World, and this is his thing. I mean, some of these are just sort of,
but see, that's
pop culture icon-y sort of stuff.
No, I absolutely agree with. And so I think those are the more interesting ones. Interesting, like yours, for example. I mean, the idea of doing a podcast around cause marketing, because it illuminates a topic that I don't think there's a huge, there's a huge understanding or listenership for already. Right.
Exactly.
Like it's something new. It's something educational. And how do you actually turn that into a sustainable business? That's a topic I'm really interested in.
Exactly. Well, as am I.
Like, how do I live a life more like Dane.com?
Should I start that one?
Yeah.
We have to rope you back in, Dane, because otherwise.
That's right. Live more like Dane.com.
You go.
I was going to tell you guys that my mom started a blog.
What?
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
On what?
Food.
Being Dane's mom.
.com.
Yeah.
That would definitely be a .net.
How to raise Satan.
That would be a .org.
What's her blog? What's her blog?
I'm trying to find it's something like Simple Edibles or something like that. She has it. She put. It's hilarious. It honestly is. She got some white lettering from the store the other day, and it's on the back. The blog URL is now in the back window of her car, and what she does
didn't.
Yeah, and so I should remember it because I have that image in my head. I think it's Simple Edibles, but
it's not coming up for me.
Well,
simple. Is it simple? Did she concatenate the E?
She did.
So
that's the one.
Simple edible. Oh, Simple Edibles.
Right. It's a new word. She invented a word. And blog.
Is that a word? Is that when you run it together?
Well, when I said concatenate and Dane said yes, she did. Did that give you a hint?
No, it didn't.
because Dane buying in on a use of a word is not enough for you to make it legitimate.
Help for the daily dinner dilemma.
Anyway, yeah. So what she does is she makes when she makes dinner, she takes pictures of the whole process of the meal she's making.
She sure does. Upside down shepherd's pie.
I gotta say that first picture is.
And can I just tell you guys? Because my mom has this reputation, by the way. Mom. When we were growing up, she would make dinner, but she would call it an invention. So she would be all proud that she basically fed like 6 kids on $5 with a new invention, and it would be, like just throwing some weird stuff together that no one ever thought to throw together, and there's no name for the meal, so the meal's name is an invention. Tonight was an invention, and we made lots of fun of her because they weren't not always good.
I have to say the quiche looks good. The ham and Swiss quiche, that looks good. So I'd eat that.
Starting off, I was like, oh, good. This is, it's a good hobby. It's keeping her busy and whatever. And I thought, man, she's going to be really like digging in and, making some good like recipes or whatever, like, I don't know, just sort of developing her cooking. But it's devolved a bit into more inventions. And I was at my sister's house the other day, and she was telling me that my dad, he's not happy with what's going on here with the the food quality. And apparently he confronted her the other day and said, when is this going to end so I can have something to look forward to?
All right, I have a couple of comments.
So there are lots of different blogs, lots of different blog ideas
cute.
out there. I like.
I love that your mom is a blog.
Here's
I think
what
you might need to get her a new camera for Christmas, though.
Yes, you should definitely do that. And I wonder if you could have her change. I don't know. Maybe this is important to her, but it looks like her name on the blog is, quote, "If you can dream it, you can do it, -- Walt Disney." Like at the end, it says posted by "If you can dream it, you can do it, Walt Disney" at Thursday, November 10th. What's up with that?
As long as she's happy, you know what I mean?
I don't know who she is. I want to know who she is.
I think it's hilarious that she has it on the back of her car. I'm going to do that.
You absolutely should.
All do that. I want to see.
I'm going to do that.
On the back of
pixels.com.
You should all try that.
It looks like, so that's chicken, I guess, in the second picture. Well, it looked like there's a whole bunch of chopped celery and onion, and kind of underneath it looked like a body. Like maybe there was a severed arm.
Which recipe are you looking at?
The first one. It's after you chop the potatoes, then you put the severed arm in with the onions, and then.
Yeah. Well, why don't you guys all have moms? Like,
oh my gosh, if my mother does a blog, I might just have to.
I can actually see your mother doing a blog. I can see that on FEMA awareness.
I know exactly
how to escape a burning building. I
actually talked to them about doing something because they do have good content, but they literally looked at me and they're like, "Yeah, that I get it, and that is just way too much work."
Yeah.
I was like, "Hey, at least you're honest."
Oh, I want some of these meatballs. That
actually kind of parlays a bit on something that Pete and I were discussing last week. Is just that whole, and I think this is just, I always come back to this, that, and I know you guys do too, that there is oftentimes, when you're talking to a business or an organization, a sense that, well, we're not getting all this free social media and blogging, and it's all free. We can do it for free. But there is a really, it's just one of those sort of funny things that I just think always you come back to, that, someone needs to recognize, how do we do it well? How do we do it right? How much time is it going to take? What kind of expertise do we put into it? And Pete, I know this has been a big topic for you, that you kind of turned me on to this, the whole content, is it content strategy or content strategist?
Right.
It just kind of a way to put a wrapper in a way. I don't know, put a structure around what it means as, again, a company or an organization to communicate their message. Because I think for a long time, and correct me if I'm wrong, that I think, we're all maybe kind of seeing this, but for a while there was, okay, you've got your marketing and your advertising over here and your sales and all that. And then you're experimenting over here with social media or with a blog or with, your online content or, some of these other elements, even your newsletter or your emails. They're just sort of over here on the other side, But at the end of the day, it really needs to be taken as a whole, and you need to have that overarching, content strategy so that you have a consistent voice. And I think that can help you sort of shake down what does it make sense to have on your plate, I guess, to be part of that marketing scope. So maybe a little advertising, maybe your brochure, maybe, a Google brand page, or, whatever, maybe a blog, maybe a podcast, but put it together and almost, with an editorial calendar looking forward and creating just really a common voice and a common sort of theme to the way that you're speaking through each of these different channels.
That is
well, and I think it's just part of it too. This totally brings me back to a conversation I had with my dentist the other day, who is this guy who's about our age. He has a successful practice, but of course,
which is 25.
Right, which is 25.
Sorry.
He has a successful practice, but he needs to keep growing it. And he's got this brother-in-law that's very into SEO, who's like, he was literally like, oh, I have to do Facebook now. And I was like, well, why are you doing Facebook? Like, who are you targeting? What do you like? He's not asking these questions. He's just saying, I got to do it because I got to do it. So he opened his Twitter account. He's got like 2 tweets from 3 weeks ago. He has a Facebook page with nothing on it.
It's
and I'm
so
like,
much worse. That is so much worse.
And I told him that, and he so now he knows. He feels like he does have to be there. But I said, let's go to lunch. Let's talk about a couple things that would be fun to do, that would be interesting to you, because he's like, I don't have time to do this. Like, I don't want to go sit at the computer all night, like pushing content out. And what would I even post? And la 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 la. So he and I are going to have a conversation about some ways that he could make it a little bit more interesting. Just as like, because I like him. He's a nice guy. He's my friend. But I'm like, don't do it if you're not going to put anything on there, because it's not worth your while. And his brother-in-law is pushing him to do Groupon. Because when I think of Groupon, I go, for a dentist? I go, well, I don't know about that. Like, if you're a restaurant, sure, but as a dentist,
if you get creative, I've seen dental Groupons, but they tend to be come in for a free evaluation,
right? Like, who are you attracting with a $100 dental Groupon?
Yeah,
I don't know.
That doesn't help you build a relationship, and it would seem to me, though true. I am not a dentist, that what you're looking for is to make them feel, is that I would never buy a dental Groupon. Are you kidding me?
Would I?
The idea is, to figure out something that really kind of opens up the practice, so that you're creating a warm environment. You're asking questions and sort of painting a picture that this is a welcoming place, that this is not a place where we're going to hurt you, even though we probably are.
Well, and the point is, and I know you were about to expand on this, Pete, but the point isn't to stay at your starting place. How many places can we be, and how many things can we get involved in, and how far and wide can our presence be? The point is to start with, what are we trying to do here? Who are we
exactly.
Who do we want to talk to, and what's the goal?
Right.
And then you start to decide what makes sense and what doesn't.
Exactly. Well, and I think that is such a common sentiment, that I got to be on Facebook and so says I should. And you can really tell those businesses that are on Facebook because somebody told them they had to be. And I don't know about you, but those are not
I feel
pages
like
I'm interested in.
I have some clients that do very well on Facebook, and some that I really feel like I have failed because, in my own learning, I have made those recommendations, because substantively that when you are able to engage through Facebook and through now Google Plus and Twitter, in the best case scenario, these platforms can drive significant traffic to your content. We know that, right? And yet it is so rarely the best case scenario. Exactly. The best case scenario always means you have evaluated the opportunity cost, and the cost that is not monetary in supporting these assets. And so many people say, well, Facebook's a free platform. We can just set up our page and suddenly
True.
Magic will happen. And yet, as soon as I leave, who in the organization is going to take up the mantle to actually create content? There is a cost to every bit of content you create, whether you're repurposing old content or creating new stuff from scratch. And that's the content strategy part of it is businesses generally don't get that there is a cost to every bit of content that you create. And that's what can be so frustrating. And that's what's so frustrating about the clients I feel like I have failed, because I didn't properly engender that kind of expectation up front. And then when I leave, the pages get stale when it probably wasn't appropriate for them to be on in the first place.
Yeah. We are very serious right now. I think we need Dane to tell us something funny.
Okay, I'll tell you something funny. Are you ready?
Wow.
I was totally going to tell you about a bundt cake recipe.
Oh, were you?
Oh no, it's awesome. So you take this. It says this is off your mom's Sipple edibles. It inspired me. You have to take you take a chocolate or like some powdered cake. You go to the store and you buy yourself just a box cake, right?
Okay.
And you put the egg in it and a little oil, and then you know what else you do? You put in a pint of your favorite like Haagen-Dazs ice cream. I'm not kidding you. You mix it all up while it's frozen, right? And then you put it in a bundt pan and you cook it. It makes the most moist, incredible cake you've ever had in your life. It is credit to the good Dr. Joyce McPeak, my high school English teacher, who taught me this cake. Unbelievable. I'm going to post the recipe.
She's taking a walk down memory lane with these recipes.
It's fantastic.
I get a little email every now and then. Do you remember when you were a little boy and your grandma made these? Anyway.
Aww.
No.
All right.
Anyway.
So what did you want to talk about? I'm going to go make a cake after this, for crying out loud.
I did something this week. Oh, you should. Yeah. Has anybody heard of the band Mastodon?
It sounds sort of familiar, but I can't say that I do. It's just a really heavy metal kind of a band. Colony of Birchmen, one of their bigger songs. But anyway, just straightforward, hard, heavy metal. What?
Colony of Birchmen?
You might have heard that song.
Nope.
If you have, you're kind of a nerd probably. But anyway, so by and it came, and the concert was, by the way, the day that Call of Duty came out. So I was sort of surprised they had an audience at all there, because I think a lot of those folks may have taken the day off work to play. But they had a good audience, and it was really just straightforward. Everyone in black, lots of facial hair, just like no stragglers. Just a straightforward heavy metal show. And I'd had a hard day, so I called a few friends, and I was like, "Man, we got to go to the show. I really gotta get my medal on." No one ever says that. So
I gotta get my medal on.
Whatever. I gotta rock out. I gotta just really lose myself into this just heavy show, and it was great, and I loved it. And I went with some people who, one of whom, for instance, the prior weekend had been in Las Vegas for a Dungeons and Dragons convention. And does that kind of thing quite often. So I guess what I'm trying to paint here is there was some metal nerd kind of an element there, where they can sort of talk for hours about bands you've never heard of, and in ways that. So I get copied on the day after, breaking down the concert from the night before, and I'm just in pain, all over my body from thrashing around, and it was great. My ears are ringing, and I'm just thinking that was a fun show. But these guys start breaking down everything, the vocals of every band member and the instruments and the tech, like the sound tech quality and the whole deal, right? Well, now there have been well over 20 emails that I've copied in on with this group. And I'm just really getting the biggest kick out of how much thinking, like from a nerd perspective, goes into concerts. And so I just wanted to read. I wanted to share this with you guys if I could. But there's been a really big conversation about what shirts to wear.
Okay. Let me just make sure I understand. You going into reading this with expectations very low.
Good, please.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And I should be doing the same.
Well, I'm enjoying the heck out of this.
Okay. Share.
Somebody writes, my rule is you have to try to wear a shirt that is one step heavier or one step more obscure than the band you are seeing. So for Mastodon, you could wear an Opeth shirt or Weed Eater shirt. Dream Theater, you would wear a Mastodon shirt, etc. Well, what do you wear to Weed Eater? If you are heavy and obscure, I submit you have to go old school. Rush, yep, yes, Deep Purple, something like that. And then they ask, like, somebody who apparently has the strongest opinion, hey, what's your etiquette? He goes, my shirt etiquette and protocol. Don't buy a shirt at the show and then put it over your other shirt. Beanie doesn't bother me. Shirts over shirts really bothers me. Maybe sweatshirt, but even then I'm still bothered. There are two preferences, both of which have the same purpose. One, wear a shirt from a band that is similar in genre but more obscure. Thus, you assert your dominance over the other people, especially noobs. It also allows you to bond with other awesome people. Number two, wear the band shirt, which you didn't buy at the show, and put on over your polo shirt, but make sure that it's an older shirt, preferably from an older tour. That way you can assert your dominance over other people.
I would like to submit that no one who is wearing a polo shirt will be asserting their dominance over me if they're wearing a Hard Rock shirt.
Dude, I'm sorry, I
over
could
it.
go on and on. I'm getting the hugest kick out of this.
Holy smokes.
It just keeps going, and I'm just loving it.
Assert your dominance.
This guy does not have a girlfriend, does he?
I didn't see girls there, but
yeah, exactly.
And honestly, this was maybe I'll just throw a guess out: 85% male concert, or maybe 90. I'm not sure. But one of the points is that if you wear the right kind of shirt to a show like this, you have a good chance of meeting like-minded people.
All right. So, at what point would you wear? At what point would you wear a simply red shirt?
Oh, I know. You play the game all day, right?
Right.
Like it's got one step more obscure.
That's
so
right.
I
think you're right. I think a simply red shirt demands a Lionel Richie concert.
Then you assert your dominance.
Yes.
Over the people there.
Right? I wonder at what point. I mean, yeah. Coldplay.
Peter,
what? Yeah.
For the record, if you went to a concert like this, you would almost certainly get beat up.
I'm really just philosophizing. I would not go.
Don't wear Glee to Mastodon.
With your in the buff T-shirt.
No, I'm gonna make sure to wear my ITB garb to.
That's obscure.
To a Mastodon show.
Anyway, I had a fun time, and these guys really are fun. Like just just
funny.
rock. I mean, I love it.
That's fantastic.
Out of it.
I wonder what I wonder what the etiquette is for shredding T-shirts. Like, at what point you buy a new shirt and then manually rip holes in it?
Okay, so can I just tell you something that actually does relate to this story? There is a guy that I heard a story, it must have been on NPR, who has taken old collectible rock shirts and has turned them into quilts. Yes, you heard that right, quilts. And they're going for thousands of dollars. So he's not only used all of his own T-shirts, but he's collected T-shirts from friends of his that also, had this collection of old rock T-shirts. Thousands of dollars on a freaking quilt of old rock band T-shirts.
Wow.
How's that?
It brings to mind that, you can really get caught up thinking that, new technologies create new businesses, and you can maybe spend a week thinking, what blog can I make that'll make money? But good old-fashioned quilt making, it's still the,
Hello? Come on. You know what? Your mom could start a blog. You and your mom could go into business together.
Doing
do
rock
that,
T-shirt quilts.
Rock T-shirt
Mastodon
quilts.
shirt
and then
quilts.
blogging about it.
Yeah.
No. She's doing just great with her food blog.
DaneandHisMom.com. Which actually may be misinterpreted for something else.
Yeah. Wow.
I want to, Dane, can you tell us about, because we talked a lot about AdWords last week, right? We talked a little bit about AdWords, didn't we? Or was that the week before? I want to talk about this AdWords. We've been talking about the new twist on AdWords. Can you just fill us in on what this cockamamie AdWords Express is? This is like the golden arches of AdWords, it seems like.
I've yet to actually sign up for an AdWords Express account or anything like that, or
but you're take that approach. It's new, and you're a smart guy, and
people may have seen it. Well, if you log into AdWords and you're served this quite often, and even though I've got an MCC account, I'd still get, for whatever reason, thrown to this AdWords Express suggestion. It's essentially, as I see it, Google's attempt to really, really spread out the I guess their AdWords income as far as and wide as possible. So it's really just a way for them to set up, the small business owner that is intimidated by AdWords or really doesn't want to create an advanced multi-keyword campaign, doesn't want to really get analytical, I guess, about their approach, and that would maybe turn them off anyways, or they don't want to hire an agency or somebody else to manage it. They just don't have that kind of a budget, but they want to do something. And so for many businesses, it's this is a good, you throw down your credit card, set up a little account, and there's not much you can really do with it. There are a few things I guess you can do. I think Google's making the assumption you're probably not going to do much of anything. So they're just going to automate almost everything about it.
You just tell here's your business, here's where you are, here are a couple of keywords, and Google does the rest.
Primarily for like a local business who wants some local traffic, so that, because those are searches that maybe aren't, and let's just say you're a restaurant, in Portland.
Well, someplace with some sort of a storefront or retail, like, would you say it's more geared toward retail than,
I guess
service industry?
Yes. I think I don't know about retail. I think, and apparently there was originally, and maybe this just changed, there was a tie-in, like if you're going to sign up for this account, you also have to confirm your places, like
right, Google Places,
so that you are, I mean, it's good for you and it's good for them that a business goes in and verifies your location, and then you showing up on the map, and maybe you get an opportunity to just sort of put some information there and that helps Google from that side of things, that their maps are correct and accurate and people are using them. And now apparently that's not a requirement to sign up for AdWords Express. But there is a little bit of a connection there. And again, I don't, this is obviously AdWords is a big global product, and, I don't know that it is that critical for lots of different kinds of businesses. But, if you're just trying to drive some extra traffic, I mean, it's
well, what I thought was so interesting about it is that
that's where it's, I think, ideal.
Well, I totally cut you off. I'm sorry. I thought
you're fine.
I was thinking that it's like a training wheels kind of a product. And one of the things I was noticing is that, if you already, if you have any experience at all in PPC advertising, it's probably not what you want. You're probably going to hit the ceiling of what it can do pretty quickly. And even Google itself has has links all over it that says, are you a distributed business? Are you more than a local business? We're going to push you to AdWords. We're going to push you to the regular product.
Yeah.
They're pretty clear about that.
No, that's right. Yeah, because once you're locked in and I don't know what sort of transfer there would be. I assume maybe you could upgrade, but within this, as I understand it, within AdWords Express, there's just, again, there's an assumption, and this is a correct assumption, I believe, that there are a lot of people who would love to spend a little bit of money, every month on getting a little better exposure on people's, search results. Obviously, getting your map places page correct and verified by you. Those are good things, but you're just not going to do much. You're not going to really go in and spend your time managing it. You wouldn't really know how. You wouldn't really want to. And this, we'll see. These kinds of things obviously are always evolving, and it's already evolved a little bit. So I don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, I think this is. I'm sort of surprised, honestly, that Google hasn't done more to push products, variations like this out there, because this is obviously the biggest source of income, and it's a massive. I mean, AdWords is a massive product, and it's got massive use and traffic. But you walk down the street, and and almost every business you pass is not using Google AdWords, right?
So it's what are they using? Yelp, Facebook,
right? If anything at all, but yeah. Or maybe they've got the same website that they have had now for 10 years and never have done anything with it. Or maybe they've got a great website. And it goes back, of course, to how many things can you manage effectively. But you're right. Yeah, I mean, for a restaurant or something like that, Yelp or Urban Spoon, some of those are more critical. And I would definitely argue that those are, it's a higher priority to be paying attention to what people are saying about you and whether or not your profile and, pictures are uploaded and all that kind of thing on those. Definitely more important. But this, this sort of can get you started and have something there. And I do think sometimes that even if you don't drive traffic, because, and again, if you're a local restaurant or something, if people see your ad pulling up in AdWords, and even if they don't click on it, I do think there's a little bit of like, oh, well, they're, it gives you, it's almost like a branding boost to have that show up, and you look a little more savvy, or you look a little more prominent. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think you could argue for that, but I don't think it's critical for most local small businesses. But anyway,
all right.
yeah,
So,
hey,
a smart idea.
I've got a real-time consulting case for each of you.
oh no.
It's really quick. So
Okay.
I just did this big white paper, and we're doing a webinar on cause marketing on Facebook, as you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because you wrote the book on it. We said
Whatever,
That's what
it's a
you're a
paper.
book writer on this thing.
I'm
You
not.
wrote the book.
So I went in and did all these AdWords, but they all were disapproved because they all said Facebook in them because of, what was the reason? It said trademark terms.
Yeah.
So how do I advertise for a report on cost marketing on Facebook if I can't say Facebook?
Well, do you have to say Facebook? I don't get it.
It's really
The paper
what
is
it's about.
kind of called Cause Marketing on Facebook, right? Like,
So now I just have to call it like social media. I mean, that's irritating.
Huh.
Do you think they'll take
Well,
FB?
you're gonna have to come up with something.
yeah, I think that, well, I don't know
Well,
if
I'm
if
pitching it to
FB
you
is, I don't know if, yeah, because we are the arbiters of trademark success. That's for sure. I don't know. I can't imagine that FB
crazy?
is, I can't imagine them getting away with trademarking FB, but I can totally understand why Google wouldn't want to touch Facebook,
yeah.
the trade name. And
I just-
you actually, I don't know what, I don't know. Could Facebook come back and give you trouble for using their name in the title of your book, for
Somehow.
making a profit off
Somehow.
of?
Somehow I doubt it.
Yeah, I kind of doubt it too.
Because
Well, I doubt they'll find
Laurie
it, but
Smith would not
it's-
have a business.
Well, that's true. That's a good point.
Anyway,
I think they
that was
could,
a little.
but I don't.
I don't.
bit of a-
No,
a
I
little
don't.
bit of a
I don't.
digression.
I don't know. I would at least have that in the back of your mind. I mean, I just had a client the other day who got so upset because we used the same font as their logo font, which is not a designed font, but they requested that we take it down. And I honestly I don't know what the ramifications are of that disc. I don't think they necessarily had a legal sort of stance, although their logo was just the name of their business in that font. And they called us and said, if you want to keep doing business with us, you take it down. You can't use the treatment the way you did, on your website when referring to us. And so we took it down. It's just, I was personally, sort of professionally, kind of insulted by that. It drove me crazy because it seems so old world. But here I am with this client who needs to be in business with this publication, and they said, take it down. Take it down because we don't want to. We want to keep going to conventions with this publication. We want to keep, getting articles published with this publication, and so I wonder if as sensitive as these big brands are to how you use their name.
Well, and I think that businesses always have to make the calculation of at what point are they doing nothing but protecting a look or their name or whatever intellectual property, and at what point are they willing to overlook that to help further their brand or their presence or the use of their product, so it's kind of a PR balance versus a legal balance. And so I think companies obviously are always doing that. And I think people get surprised, Pete, that when they start to get into areas like that, get a little bit surprised at what can't be done or what people can legally protect or at least can threaten to protect. There, I think, are a lot of people who underestimate or miscalculate
just how far. Well, and
yeah.
Brands have to err on the side of sort of being conservative, right? That they have to attempt to protect in every angle, right? Every possible trajectory of violation. Because if they don't, they risk losing it, right? And that's just a simple rule of the way the rule of law is set up in this country. And so you often get surprised. At least I am surprised at the lengths to which brands will go to protect things that seem to me to be innocuous, or to deny permission to cross-advertise using some sort of a logo or trademark or something, in a result that normally would be mutually beneficial, and yet the law is not set up to always cater to mutually beneficial.
Well, from the cause perspective, this is a big deal with Komen, because they've got their trademark pink, and they've trademarked For the Cure. So really, they've gone after quite aggressively these small charities that use the color pink and say, kite flying for the cure. I mean, they literally will go after these charities. I mean, it's a big deal, but you can't trademark pink.
Right. Well, no, you can't trademark pink. The AdWords actually has a policy. Their AdSense and AdWords trademark policy is pretty clear, and we can put it in the show notes.
Apparently I need it.
So, I'll drop that in the show notes. It's it pretty much just says we take it seriously, and you're responsible for the keywords that you use to generate advertisements, but any of the creative we take very seriously. And
by the way, if you get that, if you've put keywords into your AdWords campaign that have been unapproved, don't just pause them, like delete them.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah. You have to delete them. They're
not keywords. It was part of the ad. Can I just edit the ad?
Oh, the ad.
Edit it. Keyword. I don't. Or at least
I'm just saying, don't leave something that's not been approved by Google in a paused status. Okay. Either change it or delete it.
Okay. What's the ramifications of not doing that?
As is.
Let's be clear. They know where you live. They have you on the map.
Exactly.
And these are, there isn't, someone isn't going to show up on your doorstep and you're not going to be sued. It just
puts a little black mark on your record.
Yeah, right.
Some way of saying that, some ambiguous way of saying, you're just going to be better off if you. And I know that at one point, I think I had one keyword in a massive campaign of thousands of keywords that had not been approved. And I was working with somebody at Google, or we were setting up, just getting some help, like some pointers from a Google employee with an AdWords account that actually the client had sort of set up. And they said, we'd like to do this. We're going to give you whatever, like a couple hours of free consultation. You have to delete that keyword first, or we can't talk to you.
Wow. Okay,
and then
but
I deleted it,
enough,
and we were good.
I just looked into my keywords, and I do have Facebook in my keywords, but those haven't been disapproved.
Right, because you're responsible for your keywords, but Google watches the creative.
The creative, okay. So
that's
although you can get keywords disapproved. It can happen.
Oh, I'm sure. And
then I'm just in that case. Right? Delete that. Yeah, you'd see it in the status.
Okay, all right.
It's pending, approved.
I don't want to get
active,
in trouble
paused,
by
whatever.
AdWords.
Oh, you're fine.
When I first started, this was probably, I don't know, years ago when I first started advertising online, I got my entire account shut down off of Google because I was in a client situation and I opened up my account and I happened to be logged in to AdWords, this was AdSense, and we were actually placing ads on a site. And I clicked on the ads, right, to demonstrate what happens when you click on, say, a display ad from another website. And they came down so hard and so fast because it, by all appearances, it looked like I was stuffing ads, right? I was clicking on my own ads to generate revenue. I was not. I just totally absent-mindedly clicked on an ad that I had placed to demonstrate what happened for a client, and it was so fast.
Why would they care? Because you just have to pay for it.
No, the client, the advertiser pays for it, right? I don't pay anything, right? Say I click on a vacuum cleaner ad that I had Google
know you
place.
Don't pay anything, but you're the one who set them up.
But Google they've built in like algorithms or whatever that watch for things like competitors clicking competitor ads.
That's what I mean. And so I ended up getting my entire account shut down. It took 3 weeks to come back to get that back up and running. So painful. They're just very serious about that. And those protections are in place for a reason, and that's a good thing. It's just, I think Dane's right. If there is any question at all, delete it. because
Okay.
you don't want your business to slow down. This is all run by a computer that is not that is, only as smart as the people who put the rules in. So that's it.
Excellent. Thank you, boys, for the real-time consulting. I
Well, you're very
appreciate
There
it.
you go.
Okay, what were we talking about before that? We talked about the AdWords Express. Did we have something else on the
No,
docket?
that was it.
I
We
think that
covered
was
it.
I
And I think
covered
Megan's
it.
got to run.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I got to get out of here.
Well, it's just good to have you back.
It's good to be back. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
You're going
And
to
you
put
know
this
what?
on your
You know what
calendar.
I love?
next
I
week,
love when Dane brings us funny stories to talk about.
I know.
You love that sometimes. Other
Can
times,
wait, I have
you-
one tech thing. Can we just talk about one tech thing?
Yeah, a tool. You mean?
No, it's not a tool. It's a bona fide news story. I feel like I buried the
What?
lead. This was
What?
the big news of the week. That Adobe announced. Did you
Yeah,
hear this
right.
announcement?
Saw you post that.
Adobe announced that they are no longer going to develop Flash for mobile. That is so big. And it
Yeah.
extends to TVs. Like it extends
Wow.
to their Flash is not going to be a technology that they pursue in the mobile space, mobile and entertainment or TV space. Only on the web. That's a huge deal.
Yeah, and or admittance, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and
Well
it leaves the bigger. I think actually, I ended up coming out on this that Adobe took the high road here, and I think they didn't say it very clearly. I think it's great that they said that they are actually taking an assertive, progressive, kind of forward-looking stance on the technologies that are in play right now, and comparing Flash to HTML5. I mean, it's just they're making the smart move and getting back to what I believe Adobe does best, which is making terrific tools for creatives to actually create. But man, this makes Google and HTC and wow, does it make BlackBerry? It makes RIM look terrible. And in fact,
Yeah.
RIM is so stubborn. This actually is the news that RIM has decided we know Adobe's not going to do this, but we're a licensor of Flash. So we're going to go ahead and keep developing it on our own. And if you're not following the disaster that RIM is in right now,
I know. Yeah,
that-
do you
that's a-
need to keep like putting lead weight in your boat?
Oh my goodness! I actually, I mean, I posted it, and I feel like, to me, it's like dumb it turns out is a differentiator at this point, and they're just gonna play the dumb card and just be dumb, and that's okay. It's fascinating. It's just fascinating what's going on in this market.
It is.
Yeah. Anyway, I feel like we just had to bring that up.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Now my day is complete that I've had my dose of. See, I just appreciate you guys because I need my dose of tech sort of stuff because I am probably not going to seek this out and keep up to date on it myself unless it happens to fall in my lap. Or unless it has to do with cause marketing. So, thank you, boys.
Well, I always like to make sure that we are the delivery of technology to your lap.
You are.
Yeah, this was a good time.
Good times.
Good times.
You guys have a great week.
Yeah, you too.
All right.
Talk to you guys next week.
All right.